What is going on, everybody, and welcome back for our final series of the evening. University of Hawaii and Georgia University, but those aren't our names. Our names are Septilence and Soy, and we are stoked to be bringing you this final series, which we've kind of agreed on might be the closest one of the night.
Yeah, this one should be an entertaining one. Hawaii at 6-4 on the season, George Washington at 5-5, both kind of vying for a potential playoff spot when the national bracket comes around. And these two teams, they actually played before week 3. They met. It went to game 5. Hawaii won that series in game 5, 3-2. And then, I mean, this is kind of the rematch of that week. And the interesting part, both teams scored the same amount of goals throughout that series. That's how evenly this matchup could be.
Incredible, truly. And I mean, we're looking at a school that, Hawaii, they're 6-4. George Washington, they are breaking even at 5-5. Somebody's win-loss is going to get screwed up one way or another, and truly, I think it's got the potential to go either way. They are coming from the west in Hawaii and the east in George Washington, respectively, and this is going to be, I truly believe, probably our closest series of the day. We're jumping right into the swing of things. The series will begin, and it's just immediate aggression from both sides. Hawaii with an early ball control, but can we even count it as it is turned around by George Washington in a matter of seconds?
We'll have to see here. These two teams, they also are very good at adapting to play styles just across the board. I mean, George Washington, they've got a lot of momentum over the past 2 weeks, the way they've
Oh,
been playing, but oh my, the defense right now in a little bit of tatters as that one nearly finding its way back through, but they are, holding on for the moment in an awkward spot. Those Sticks has to make that block on somewhat, and Hawaii continues to press.
yeah, a bit of a whiff there from Hawaii. They had a great opportunity to score early, and George Washington's defense came through enough to kind of throw them off their rhythm, keep the momentum rolling. Speaking of momentum, here comes George Washington with a secondary attempt to score, but it goes off into the corner. Charcuteer is there to make sure those dreams do not come true quite yet. Only 1 minute off the clock, and this game already, Soy, is incredibly back and forth.
It is too, and oh my goodness, Sadaki got the bump there on the last player back, but they couldn't find the touch on that aerial, so George Washington kind of escaping with one there. And right now you're seeing Hawaii, they're a little bit quicker to the punch on a lot of these 50-50s. George Washington, they're going to have to adapt to that type of play, or excuse me, pace of play if they're going to have a chance in this one, because look, 2 players up quickly, that one, and Sticks able to answer the call.
90 seconds already gone. The first goal finally going to make an appearance. Scheme from George Washington puts it away from the midfield right into goal. A little bit of help from Stengel there and just knocks that bad boy in. An open goal from Hawaii.
So I think that's all coming off the back of that double commit. Sticks wins the challenge to the ball. Everyone goes to gather boost, and it gives George Washington time to set up that passing play, and the defense not quite ready for that pass. So George Washington, they're able to strike first despite the numerous chances here from Hawaii. Even so, a demo coming through there, and they are denied, and Sticks able to get a clear there off of that great pinch off the corner.
Pressure is on. A double demo coming out from Charcuteer. Is there the follow-up? Sadaki not able to land that goal in for Hawaii. That was a huge opportunity for them, but it's just going to fall a little bit short. And now George Washington has ball control. They're looking for a double tap commit. Nobody finds it. Charcuteer making some space, but Sticks is there, trying to make some space for George Washington instead. Scheme with a phenomenal demolition. Charcuteer going down. George Washington has a great opportunity to put another point away.
As we approach that halfway mark, George Washington, you're seeing the quality chances are starting to get there, but the defense of Hawaii able to hold on in that sequence. Now, George Washington, defense of their own there, finding the clear only for a moment as Charcuteer finding some clutch blocks there along that midfield line to allow Hawaii to try and set their offense, but gets bogged down in the corner and Scheme with a much needed clear here. Look at the space both of them are taking through that midfield line, just trying to find a centering pass, but both teams are wise to it.
This is definitely one of the slower paced games I feel we've had so far today. A lot of our other games ending with, 4-3s, 3-2s, and so far, I mean, we're 3 minutes in. We've got only a single point on the board, so these teams, I think that really goes to show how close and skilled they are. Nobody's able to run away with this series one way or another. It is just a constant fight for survival in this back and forth.
Yeah, very close, and ooh, that's a good chance for somewhat off the backboard, and it will be cleared away by Stengel. Sharkateer now, low boost in the tank, trying to fake out that last defender. Scheme smart to the play, cuts him off. And this is where George Washington, they found a lot of success the past 2 weeks in transition. They were able to find space, win a couple 50-50s, and get that ball into the opponent's half. Just force this team to make some uncomfortable touches. And right now, Hawaii, they're able to make a lot of those plays through the midfield, and even now starting to continue that attack. Somewhat wanted that double tap off of the corner, but couldn't find it. And now Sticks taps that one forward, but Sharkateer makes a save.
I mean, golly, so we talked about how their last series was ended by a single point differential, and this first game maybe ended the very same way. 45 seconds left on the clock. George Washington only a single point on the board. Will they be able to crack through this? Who knows, but Hawaii, they are rootin', tootin', and ready for shooting to find this goal when they need it most, but they're racing more against the clock than they are against George Washington at this point.
Right now, Stengel looking for Sticks, and what a save by Somewhat, diving across and getting a piece of that one, but no boost in the tank as they try and punish that chance. Sharkateer back for Somewhat, and they lose the 50-50. It takes an awkward pinch. Sadaki in a weird spot, and Sticks is able to get another booming clear. George Washington making such good use of the space they're given.
I mean, my goodness, it is going to be Hawaii coming so unbelievably close, but close only counts in hand, shoes, and horse grenades, so it's really going to be that final moment where George Washington is not able to pick up that Hawaii is not able to pick up that momentum, and Washington will walk away with a Game 1 win.
And that was a very close game. I mean, you can tell just looking at that scoreboard, a lot of the stats very even. I think really the difference maker was George Washington, that defense, right? Hawaii, from the start, they got, quality chances that they couldn't put home because the defense of George Washington, despite being demoed, their positioning was very well done. They were able to pick up enough boost pads to survive the constant pressure Hawaii applied. And then in transition, they were able to find the gaps and give their offense a chance to go to work.
Right, and let's see if that offense can maybe get a little bit more work done. Only a single point scored in Game 1. Game 2 hopefully going to have a little bit more razzle-dazzle to it than we were able to see earlier. Going to be 10 seconds already gone. Nobody's able to claim ball control in that time, but the pressure is certainly on Hawaii. They find themselves in a deficit that they are desperate to dig themselves out of.
And if there's one player I'm really looking for on the side of Hawaii to get things done, Somewhat has kind of been the go-to name of the Rainbow Warriors. That being said, some awkward touches there make it difficult for someone to get a defensive clear. Sadaki has to come over and help out. Sharkateer, that's a good pinch down. But George Washington, when we interviewed them in the past, they said one of the biggest strength of, historically of their team was their defense. But recently, they felt like their offense has been clicking, and we'll see if that comes into fruition here in Game 2.
1 minute gone, and it was, I believe, almost exactly at the 90-second mark that the first goal was scored in that last game. Let's see if that kind of pattern will show up once again. And insane back and forth to the point where I cannot even confidently say who I believe has had ball control, but it's going to be George Washington just a little bit earlier than last time, able to find that first goal.
Sharkateer was up for it, but Stengel beats him to it, and they just win the race to the ball in the air underneath the last defender, and the bounce shot finds its way through. And George Washington, they have woken up here. That quick-paced play from Hawaii, George Washington is wise to it.
George Washington has been wise to a couple of things, but their offense maybe needs to be a little bit wiser than we would like to see, as they only are really able to find these goals that feel a little bit lucky, if I'm being honest. There's been some calculation to it, but it almost feels they're able to capitalize more off of Hawaii's mistakes than their own intentions, if that makes any sense. With already going to be, what is that, a minute and 10 seconds, or a minute and 40 seconds off the clock. There's more than enough time for Hawaii to turn it around, but Scheme just seemingly effortlessly rolls that into goal and gives George Washington a second point on the board.
He's got so many options here with the ball in the hood of his car, and Somewhat had just gotten back to net and was not expecting them to really corral that ball off the wall. So they're getting hung out to dry inside their own box, and Scheme just ends up driving it straight forward into the net. The no mix-up really to give George Washington the 2-goal lead.
2 minutes already gone. 3 remain. So Hawaii, they've got the statistical time. They've got the opportunity to succeed here. Stengel with a great demo onto somewhat. Can George Washington capitalize, though? It's only a 2-point some odd second buffer there before that player respawns. An open goal on the side of Hawaii is not going to be capitalized. However, a great turnaround from somewhat. Nobody's there on that follow-up from Hawaii. They get a little bit too worried about playing that defense.
And Hawaii right now, you're seeing that they're in the right places, but they're getting beat to the ball a little bit more. And it's kind of that micro game that's allowed them or allowed George Washington to take the lead. It's one thing to have speed, but the quality of touches too is another factor. And Hawaii right now, because they're being beat to the ball in those 50-50s, because they're losing those 50-50s, it's just giving George Washington so many quality chances.
Quality control may be the name of the game. George Washington looking for an opportunity to strike to put that third goal away with only 120 seconds left on the clock. So Hawaii's really going to have to kick it up a notch. They're going to have to shift this bad boy into fifth gear if they don't want to call it a 3-0. That is a 3-0.
Yeah, not quite the case there. Somewhat, they find the touch, but it's not a good one, and they try to get back to it, but there's not enough boost in the tank after you commit to that first touch. Recovery is not as easy, and George Washington, they are there to punish. And again, it's just when the 50-50s just keep coming up heads for George Washington, when you're Hawaii, what do? You got to find a way to win some of those challenges, but you can't do so. And Scheme and company are there to punish every single chance.
George Washington is really getting warmed up here. So, I mean, that is just 2 goals within 30 seconds of one another. The first time we've seen that from these teams today. There's a minute 45 left, right? We're looking at 105 seconds on the clock. It's definitely possible for Hawaii to turn this around. 1 goal per 25 seconds, but realistically, they have not been able to put a single goal away in the past 9 minutes. They're really going to have to change something if they want to succeed here, let alone in Game 3.
It's really been a huge turnaround for George Washington, right? Because this fall split, they were 3-5, at the halfway marker. But the last 2 games, they've just kind of found a fire. And there are certain times when all you really need is your players to be playing hot to turn a season around. And that seems to be the case right now for George Washington. They've just, got the comms on point. Things are going their way. Even there, it rolls by the back line and no one is able to tap it in for the side of Hawaii. They can't get into the right spot.
Yeah, they just unfortunately cannot find that footing when they need to most. 53 seconds remain, and we're looking at essentially 1 goal per 12 seconds if this team wants to succeed, and I just don't think we're going to be able to see that. Hawaii has yet to find themselves in control. Sharkateer out for blood there, finding a great demolition, but no matter how important these demolitions are, if you're not able to capitalize, they're truly never going to matter like they need to.
Somewhat forced to make another save along the goal line. Sadaki backtracking, has the boost, but not opting to jump for this one means Styx is going to be able to pass it to Stengel, and look at that transition through. Scheme, if he had enough boost in that tank, probably could have gone for it, but instead they're able to win another 50-50. The redirect not able to go through there, and Hawaii, their defense escapes for now, but it's of little consequence, and Sharkateer ends up beating the back line to put one on the board.
Sharkateer finally going to put one on the board. Unfortunately, that's going to be a little bit more for morale than anything else, as there are 10 seconds left on the clock. George Washington winning games 1 and 2, but we have seen these teams love to take us to games 3, 4, and 5 respectively, so there's certainly a possibility that can still happen.
Well, that's a good shot from Sharkateer, and they've been the player that's really come up with the quality chances so far for Hawaii. It's up to them to be able to put one home or someone else to follow up on it in the next few games, because reverse sweeping George Washington, well, it has not happened this season.
Yeah, it has not happened quite yet, and so with the way they're playing today, I'm unfortunately not sure we're going to be seeing much of that at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing on fire. Scheme getting all 4 goals that game is also worth noting. He's been playing very well. Just this roster in general has been really fun to watch, in particular this split. I mean, they took down UConn, who was undefeated after that fall split in Game 5 of the first game of this spring split. Then last week, they take down Colorado, and we've seen Colorado's offense at times. It is electric. It is lightning in a bottle. It is hard to shut down, and they were still able to get the job done when they need to. So George Washington, there must be something in the water right now wherever they are, because it is really difficult to slow down this team at all. You're seeing they're winning so many 50-50s, and Hawaii, it's not that they're not getting chances, but the quality is just starting to dwindle every single time.
Right, absolutely. George Washington, this is their time to strike if they want to find themselves in a 3-0 position to walk away with the win. It's certainly going to be possible if they can play the way they have shown us so many times already. Oh, wow, just like that, actually. Holy cow, that is going to be a very aggressive, probably the earliest goal we've seen, actually, from George Washington. And that's saying something at this point.
Yeah, that's a huge opener too, right? You think, okay, this is it, right? Hawaii's backs are against the wall. Maybe they can, grab some momentum here in the series if they get off to a hot start. And all of a sudden, the back line is just wide open. There's no one able to get to that ball in time. That power clear is right on net. And now, once again, if you're Hawaii, you're working from a deficit here, and they can't again find that quality touch in front. Sadaki, that's a good pass for Sharkatir, but where does he go with it? To the corner, low boost in the tank, trying to drop this one down for somewhat, and the defense so quick to that pass, able to cut that play off.
Play cut off completely, and the ball completely up for control once again. 4:15 remains. Is Hawaii going to be able to put even a single point on the board here tonight, Soy? That has yet to be proven.
It would be such a huge turnaround too, because for Hawaii, I mean, at 6-4 in that West Conference, it's every game really matters. That West
Right.
Conference is hard to win through, especially with teams like UTA in that bracket. Every game matters. So to drop one 3-0, that tiebreaker differential and things, down the line for postseason purposes, every game just gets even more crucial. And right now they're fighting for it. You're seeing what a huge save from Sadaki, and that's a big clear, but it's not quite on net. Stengel is there to cut it away. I think the biggest factor for Hawaii right now is that they're getting touches on the ball, but there's nowhere to go with it. They've got to find the open lanes. Think of that dump and chase style again that we saw, right? Just get that ball into the orange half and then see what you can do with it. Because right now, George Washington, they are too clean in transition. Hawaii's got to find a way to pinch down.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail right on the head, Soy. And I think another reason George Washington's been able to be what feels to be kind of in the driver's seat for the entirety of this series is they always find that early goal, and that early goal is incredible. They come out with an insane hyper aggression, full-blown 100% committal to finding a goal. They always find it as well, and then they never let the ball enter their half of the field again. It's truly from that moment, they're so great at interrupting plays and interrupting clears or anything truly that Hawaii can throw at them, that Hawaii really has been struggling to make an appearance here at all.
It's reminiscent of the first series we did between Canisius and Marist, right? Oh, that's a good shot, though. Stengel makes the save, and the rebound chance not going in the favor of Hawaii, but that's another dart thrown on net. The save is made. Sadaki off the post, in Hawaii right now, they can't buy a goal.
They truly cannot find even a fraction, an iota of what a goal looks like so far with the way George Washington is just constantly in a hyper-aggressive fashion, putting them to work.
And that's a huge clear from Scheme, looking for a pass, maybe a flick, and somewhat makes the stop. But that point I was making about the first series, right? When you have that early lead, it forces your opponent to make a play to beat you over top. And George Washington, they're just punishing all the little mistakes that Hawaii is making, trying to get this game back to even. And that's a good challenge there. Sadaki could not put that one on net. Sharketer, he has to get a pinch there, but no boost in the tank, can't get any power, and Sadaki, no chance at that ball. Two defenders able to make that play.
Two defenders, like you said, making a play, and a play that could be huge for the team further down the line. We'll have to wait and see. Sharkatir has a great strike, but that strike will be struck. Not able to find any follow-up quite yet. 77 seconds separate George Washington from a 3-0 victory here tonight.
Ooh, and Sharkatir can't find the touch. That's a good pass, but you will be able to recover in time. And Hawaii right now, this offense has got to come alive. That's a good demo, but the challenge game, again, Scheme is reading the ball so well. Finds his way to the back line. Sadaki can't find the touch either. And so quickly, George Washington in transition. Sharkatir with a big save.
records here with a phenomenal save. The defensive demon so far tonight. Sadaki going for a save of their own. The third attempt, though, from George Washington no, not yet. Will not break through a great defensive hold from Hawaii, and they are still only one goal away from tying things up, and there it is! University of Hawaii are finally going to put that first goal on the board. 35 seconds remain here in Game 3. Folks, don't do much yet, but maybe take a look at your brooms. Make sure they're nearby because Hawaii may just be getting geared up.
That was a wild touch there. Somewhat steals the corner boost, gets that one perfectly across the goal line, and Sadaki just wins the race to it, and that's a huge factor, right? We saw the teams with speed have been so successful, but Hawaii, right now, they have found that second gear. They're starting to find the gaps in the rotation of this George Washington defense, and look at them all collapse onto the backboard here. George Washington now with a late game chance.
Late game chance has certainly shown its face here tonight. So 7 seconds remain. This is almost a guarantee that we are heading into that overtime. And while I'm not particularly fond of overtime, I think I'm going to be excited to see it here because Hawaii, they're down, but they are by no means out. They're going to fight tooth and nail until the bitter end.
And the factor I'm looking for here, once again, it feels like Hawaii is starting to find that ground, but oh my goodness, they win one more race and get the brooms out once again. George Washington with another overtime victory.
An incredible one at that. George Washington walking away with a 3-0 victory on the day. That series seems to be over before it even began with the way George Washington had simply rolled over Hawaii here tonight. Truly, I mean, just incredible. I can't say it enough. George Washington giving us the show of a lifetime and officially putting themselves into a positive win ratio.
And that's huge for them, right? We talked about how they are kind of on a win streak. They are playing hot right now. It is incredible to watch them play against these teams, all with winning records, and they are just slowly starting to claw their way back into the playoffs. They are right now, they're playing on fire. It's really something else to watch, just every week adapting and shutting teams down. We came into the series saying, hey, these teams are relatively even, and Hawaii just could not get it done today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to keep talking about what Hawaii, fell short doing just a little bit, they were unfortunately, like I mentioned, never able to find that appropriate ball control. It felt like every time they found a clear, George Washington cleared it right back, like immediately back. I feel like maybe for about a minute in total did the ball spend anywhere near the back of George Washington's lineup. It has just been an incredible showing from them, and who knows, that may be the beginning of a new story for George Washington. They're 5-5 right now. We're looking for that 6th win. They found it here tonight. That number may just be getting bigger if they can keep up playing like that.
Right. And I mean, the way that they're playing too, it's not just the fact that they are winning games, it's how they're winning games. It's multifaceted. They are adapting throughout series. It's not that they are reverse sweeping, but they're always giving themselves a chance.
Right.
No matter what the other team is throwing at them, they are finding a way to respond. And that's always a huge factor, especially when we go down the line and get into the playoffs. Those series start to become best of sevens. And the longer those games get, it feels like George Washington, that just makes them stronger and stronger.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I believe we're going to be joined by Stengel here in just a couple of minutes. I believe he'll be joining us in just a moment. I'm super excited to hear what he's got to say about the series here tonight. I know that I want to be talking a little bit about how George Washington really kind of ran away in those final moments. It felt like things were getting a little bit bleak, a little bit rough, and then all of a sudden George Washington was able to really kick it up a notch. I believe Stengel is here with us now. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I think that was a fun series for us to play.
Oh, a fun series indeed. I mean,
Yeah.
it always, you guys somehow had a stranglehold on it, but at any point it could turn very entertaining to watch. I do want to ask, you have gone toe-to-toe with Hawaii before to a Game 5 overtime victory, like tooth and nail fight all the way to the bitter end. But this time you come in and you clean it up a little bit. So I want to ask, what do you feel you as a team have done differently to come into the same matchup and walk away with such a different outcome?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think our communication has been astronomically better from last semester, especially last time we played. Last time we had people in other people's rooms, we were talking to other people, people were distracted.
Right.
No one was kind of, here and there it comes, but it was kind of an absolute mess, and that was kind of how our last semester's games have gone. But this semester we've kind of nailed down our communication and being able to tell our teammates where everyone is, where we are, what we're doing, exactly what's happening. That's kind of gave us this little sync that we have that we didn't quite have last time.
The communication definitely on display there. I mean, this is win number 3 of this split for you guys. You guys have been playing on fire ever since the break, and I think you already kind of touched on it. What do you attribute to that? This 3-game win streak that you guys are going on.
Right. Well, the first thing was communication, but the second thing was we have historically been a very offensive team, as I've kind of noted in the past, which have meant we have a lot of our third man turning aggressively, and that has led to a lot of counterattacks. And so now, I've kind of, at least for me, assumed that role of being a little bit more passive, as well as my teammates, Sticks, Eric, and Scheme Will, have been that, being able to stay back passive, not trying to get too much in the action. I mean, this game worked out fantastically. Scheme actually just hard carried us through those games. Yeah, I think all but one of the goals, maybe two of them, and we were really excited to be able to see that our hard work with that passive third man, defensive third man, has led to us getting actually almost more goals than we were getting before.
Yeah, absolutely. More goals coming in hot. I mean, in total, you had 7 goals compared to Hawaii's 2, so a very dominant gameplay from you. And just one more question for you before we let you go tonight. Is there anybody you want to give a general thank you or just a shout out to before we call it a night?
Thank you to my teammates for always showing up first and foremost. They've been there for just about every game, taking time out of their schedule to come for practice and for us to make these late night 10:30 games. They got an exam in the morning, and to anyone else from GW who's watching, I know there's a couple people that tuned into the stream. So I appreciate you guys for coming to support us. But yeah, especially a special thanks to the teammates for making this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stengel, and really a phenomenal job from you guys tonight. I'm super excited to see you carry this momentum forward later into the split.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. And with that, folks, we are unfortunately going to call it a night. That third series, a bit quicker than I think we thought it was going to be, but it is over nonetheless. So thank you to all the teams for coming out tonight. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We obviously could not do this without you. Thank you to Time to Light in the background for producing everything that literally is not just me and Soy existing in our own houses. Everything else was done by his hand while he was also producing a different broadcast. So my man is working all cylinders right now. We've got Overwatch coming out for you guys tomorrow. That's going to be on official EGF and EGFO or Overwatch. Then on Friday, we've got CS:GO on the main channel. League of Legends coming up on Saturday, and the first prelim of the 2022 Valorant Power Series at the EGFCs on this Friday and Saturday. So a whole bunch of content coming for you guys in the near future. Be sure to follow the channel if you'd like to keep up with that. You can follow Soy and I on our personal socials. They're below us. That's just nice. You don't have to do that. We just like it when you do. But for the time being, folks, it has been an absolute pleasure. Check your posture, drink some water, and don't forget to love each other. We'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your night.